Disclaimer. Please note that this episode contains depictions of violence that some people may find disturbing. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the speakers, commenters, experts, and/or hosts. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the channel's policy or the views held by this channel or broadcaster. The broadcaster or its channel cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Night Crew with Drew and Katie. We are on episode 9 today, and we're going to be discussing the Hoia Baciu Forest in Romania. And we discovered this case on TikTok, as many other cases. But either way, this is said to be one of the most haunted forests in the world. So we'll start off with a little background, some legends, some real stories told, etc., etc.
I don't know if you guys can hear the rain in the background. It is pouring right now, and every time we record an episode, it pours rain.
It does.
So
it's a sign.
if you guys hear that in the background, we'll try to take it out of the background. But for right now, you're probably going to hear it. So keep that in mind.
It gives our episode a little ambiance, makes it more spooky, and we do all our episodes at night, so...
Yeah, every single one. Obviously, we're the night crew, so that's what we do.
Exactly, we have to do it at night.
So, a little background on this case. It's said that the forest has existed since prehistoric times and was home to the Thracian tribe. In Transylvania, Romania, Andrew Tate, I'm sorry. This forest, it makes up 617 acres of land that many locals avoid. It's known as Romania's Bermuda Triangle, and most of those who go into the forest or the woods, they never return. The forest got its name, I'm going to butcher this.
Hoia Baciu,
from a shepherd who disappeared into the woods along with his 200 sheep over a century ago. Since then, clothes, bones, and people disappear into thin air, and most believe that it's due to UFO sightings or some other form of evil or entity.
So here we go again with UFO sightings. Just more evidence for our previous episode, Aliens Real or Not. Go check it out.
They definitely aren't real. Trust me on that.
They're still being discovered. So, the next part. Fear the forest. The locals refuse to go there, and some have seen these light anomalies on the edge of the forest. It's said that the spirits of murdered farmers, soldiers, and peasants lurk these woods, and those that are brave enough to enter feel agitated, nauseous, restless, and have migraines. They come out with burns or scratches on their back and arms. They lose track of time, and they feel as if they're being watched. This forest honestly kind of reminds me of Suicide Forest, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I don't know. I haven't done any research on Suicide Forest. I just know a lot of death has happened there. I don't know if people have symptoms.
I know people have symptoms because, a lot of people end up sweating or they're like, hey, my stomach feels weird, or I feel weird. I don't want to be here anymore. There's something going on here. I feel like I'm being watched. Stuff like that.
Well, this forest definitely has the same vibe of it. It just reeks of death and just a bunch of spirits and abnormal entities, definitely.
Kind of reminds me of, I know Skinwalker Ranch is not a forest, but it kind of reminds me of that because it's kind of the same things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Anomaly-wise, as Skinwalker Ranch, as this forest. But we'll later get into stories about this forest and what's going on with it. But most claim to see ghost faces appear in the photos that they take in or around this forest. Female voices are heard all around them. Examples are like giggles of women, screams of young girls, and most technology actually doesn't work. Now, some say once they enter the forest, they remember a lot from the past. Once they leave, they forget all of it. Which, I don't want to make a side note, that's actually kind of cool.
What do you mean that's cool?
I mean, me personally, I forget a lot about my childhood due to issues that arised in it, but I'm sure, not all of it was bad. So
Yeah.
at some point, it would be nice to remember everything at least once,
Yeah,
but
but
then forget it all anyways.
who knows if it's good or bad memories, though? That's the thing. You don't know what it's going to bring up from the past, or if it's going to make you forget what you ate for breakfast that morning. Like, who knows how far it goes back? Because I think the suicide forest is the same way. It triggers your memory, and technology just does not work in these places because I feel like the spiritual essence of it is so high.
Well, I definitely feel like the suicide forest is definitely way more spiritual because of the amount of people that have died there, but I don't know. They're both very weird forests.
It is. And with this forest, people claim to hear the sounds of horse or deer hooves. Some see orbs floating near the trees. They can see faces in front of them just pop up out of nowhere. And sometimes locals have said they've seen glowing green eyes staring at them from a distance. Spooky.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of freaky, man.
It is, because you don't know what's in this
Green
forest.
eyes. Glowing green eyes.
And this is in Transylvania. Isn't that Dracula's castle somewhere in Transylvania?
Yeah. Vlad.
Mm-hmm.
Vlad the Impaler, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Romania already has its spooky culture there.
Well, yeah, side note, Vlad the Impaler is Dracula. That's his actual name, is Vlad the Impaler, because he used to lead an army, and he would actually kill armies and then stick their heads, like they cut off their enemies' heads and stick them on these poles and stick the poles in the ground. That's why they called him Vlad the Impaler. So, sorry, I looked into it a little bit.
Hey, it's history. Romania is definitely a place to travel to. It's definitely spooky, though. It's got some dark history, but everywhere does, either way.
Yeah.
So going along with fearing the forest, there is a story we found about a report of paranormal activity in 1999 in the forest. So, it's difficult to find a lot of stories about this place, partly because no one has ever been there. I mean, it's in Romania. At least with the suicide forest, it's in Japan. Japan's huge. Isn't that like home to the world's largest population or something?
Japan?
Oh, I thought Tokyo had
No.
a bunch of people in it.
I mean, it does, but it's not the world's largest population.
Well, ignore that. Either way, a lot more people go there rather than Romania.
Well, I'm sure the locals in Romania have stories, but obviously Romanians don't speak English. Maybe some of them do, but I don't even... What language does Romania even speak?
Romanian?
I guess so.
I have no idea. But either way, even on Reddit, I really couldn't find any stories of people who have been there. The most common thing I could find was like, oh, I've heard this story about it, or oh, this is a legend that's told about it. And it is Romanian language.
It indeed is Romanian.
Like a smart AM.
Anyways, we'll get back on
going back to the paranormal activity story, one report stands out. So, the date of the incident of this paranormal activity, August 18th, 1999. Location, obviously, the Hoia Baciu Forest, near the infamous circular clearing, which we will talk about that soon.
Yeah, hold on. As she's telling the story, I'm gonna look up this circular clearing. Hopefully there's aerial shots of this, because I want to see how big this circular clearing is.
Yes, we will talk about it soon, but it's a pretty big clearing. You'd be surprised. Anyways, going back to the paranormal thing, this was reported by a group of 5 hikers, and basically the group entered the forest in the late afternoon. I don't know why you would go in the late afternoon. They were aiming to explore the area surrounding the circular clearing, a site that was known for its heightened paranormal activity. As twilight descended upon the forest, members of the group began experiencing a series of crazy phenomena. So there was sudden temperature drops. The group reported a huge decrease in the temperature upon nearing this huge clearing in the middle of the forest, compelling them to put on extra layers of clothes, despite it being the middle of summer. And also, their technology started to fail. Their compasses began to spin erratically. The battery levels on their phones drained a lot faster than normal. So basically, they had no GPS, no phone, not even a compass, because the compass was totally out of whack. And the sounds that they heard, it was the sounds of heavy footprints near the big circle in the middle of the forest. Additionally, they heard whispers, faint laughter, all that echoed through the trees. And obviously this caused a huge sense of unease to the group because they're like, what is going on here?
And I looked this circle up that they're talking about. Now, this circle clearing is pretty big. It's
pretty big.
It's I
like
can't
a football
explain.
field, I feel like.
It's a little bigger than that, but it's a pretty big clearing, and it's an actual circle, which is the weird part. It's an actual circle.
In the middle of this big-ass forest, there's just a huge circle right in the middle of it.
And it's weird.
It is weird.
It's very weird.
It is very odd.
But the visual anomalies that they saw, and perhaps like the most alarming part of all this stuff that was happening to them, were the fleeting shadows and the figures seen moving just beyond the edge of the group's flashlight beams. Now, these figures appeared human-like, but moved with unnatural speed and agility. And me personally, I feel like they were spirits, or
I think
dare I say, demons, like messing with them,
no, they
like
could be
freaking them out.
Good and bad.
I do not believe anything. Maybe they were some sort of creature or something, but to be moving with that speed and agility to outrun a flashlight beam is insane. So
yeah, I definitely think they were spirits, especially considering how many deaths there's been in this forest as it is. So,
and most of the physical effects the group felt were like sudden dizziness. They reported feeling, I guess, a sense of being watched most of the time, if not all the time. Even one member exhibited unexplained scratches on their arms, despite not having come anywhere near any foliage or obstacles. I mean, obviously, if you're walking through the forest, you're going to scratch yourself on stuff.
Yeah, this place is haunted. I mean, all these.
Well, I mean, even if you get to the circle, you still have to go through the woods. So I imagine, they probably did cut themselves, or they did get scratched by something.
I think they got scratched by something. Spirits, to be exact. They talked a lot about the peasants more than anything that passed away in the forest, because I guess they were tortured or something in that nature. So maybe they want revenge, or it could just be good spirits too, trying to get attention and whatever else.
I mean, if you're a good spirit, I don't think you would be scratching people.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But the aftermath, the group decided to, vacate the area, obviously. I mean, guided by the moonlight and their remaining functional flashlight. Upon exiting the forest, the symptoms ceased. Their electronic devices started working, their compass started working, and the whole experience pretty much left the group deeply shaken, obviously with newfound respect for the forest's ominous reputation. Now, the incident was reported to a local paranormal investigation team, who conducted a follow-up expedition, but were unable to replicate the phenomena experienced by the group. The event remains one of the many unexplained encounters at Hoia Baciu Forest, contributing to its lore as one of the most haunted forests in the world.
Which is weird because I've never heard of this forest before until I saw it on TikTok. Like I said, the suicide forest is very well known, but this one, I've never heard of it.
Nah, I've never heard of it either.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, with these scientists going out and trying to replicate what happened,
yeah,
it's not going to happen because my opinion, the spirits know what you're trying to do, and they're not going to show themselves.
Yeah, and it's science. Ghosts don't give a shit about science.
Well, even scientists get proven wrong about ghosts.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
they do. They're not using the right equipment.
You can't always explain everything. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Which we're about to go into the vegetation of this forest, and again, the scientists, they try so hard, but not much is found about this forest, I'm not gonna lie. So, the first thing about this forest, Drew, look up some pictures of the trees in this forest. It's weird. So these trees are not like normal trees where they just stand upright. They're oddly shaped, and when the wind blows, they just make these weird sounds, like creaking sound. Yeah, aren't they weird? They grow almost spiral or like loopy.
So, to describe these trees, towards the base of the tree, they almost jut out like the top part of an oval.
Or a sprout.
They pretty much jut out like they're trying to grow around something. But I'm not talking just like little centimeters. No, they're talking about growing around something for a couple of feet. Like they actually look like backwards S's.
Yeah, they're wavy. What they look like. They're not straight trees, they're wavy and they're curved and just
and
weird.
It's not just one tree. It's every single tree.
Yeah.
Every single one. And that's weird. Now, I don't know where anywhere else in this world that trees grow like this, because this is the only place I've ever seen them grow like this. And me personally, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, and I mean, you can look up these pictures online, just even with real life pictures of people that have gone there, the trees just look so odd. Very odd. I don't know why they're shaped like that.
It's weird, dude.
I don't know why they grow like that. But, I mean, either way.
I mean, it gives them no benefit to grow like that. I don't know why. I don't know why they grow like this.
And the scientists don't understand it either. They've studied it, trust me. And despite being in the middle of nowhere, literally, people can see dancing lights, unusual mist, and shapes that appear as doorways or gateways in the forest, which is also very ominous. Very strange.
Yeah, that's definitely weird. Now, here's my thing, right? So studies have shown that a higher than normal level of radioactivity in certain parts of the subsoil due to the presence of natural uranium in this forest. Now, that could potentially alter the genes and the DNA of the trees to grow like that. Is it tested? I don't know. Is it possible, though? Yes. Is there any way to prove this? No.
But it has to be safe enough where people can tour there. I mean,
well, yes,
there hasn't been much stipulation.
But if you have to remember, these trees have been there for how long? I'm sure no one's cut them down or anything like that because the forest is so weird as it is.
And dense. Yeah.
So I imagine they've been untouched. So these trees probably have been dealing with, I mean, probably it says a higher than normal level of radioactivity. So these trees have been bearing this radioactivity for how long? Who's to say these trees aren't growing that way because of this radioactivity? Now, I'm not saying they're not growing that way because of odd circumstances. It could be. But that makes the most sense as of right now.
And who knows what it's doing to the animals. I couldn't find much about the animals, the strange animals, I should say.
Ironically enough, in Japan, Hiroshima, where the bombs dropped, the DNA of frogs and dogs, wild dogs, have all changed since they've been there. And you can look this up. This is online. But the DNA of frogs and every animal that has lived or like near Hiroshima has changed because of the radioactivity there.
Same with Chernobyl. Same thing there. Because the radioactivity is weird shit to nature.
But the thing is, the animals aren't being negatively impacted by it. Well, some of them. Now, the frogs, they're regrowing two heads and shit. But the dogs, the weird thing is, the dogs aren't dying from this radioactivity.
It's like they're
adapting to it.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's very weird. Because that's not something humans can do. Humans don't have the ability to fight cancer. Some animals do. For example, if I'm not mistaken, elephants have the natural ability to kill cancer cells inside their body. Their DNA releases some sort of cell that kills cancer cells.
Jeez, we need to preserve them and study them.
I'm pretty sure it's
Oh my
elephants.
gosh. Whew. Either way, I mean, with radioactivity like this, it can do weird things to the forest, to the animals, to the vegetation. The clearing might have something to do with it.
Yeah, so it's a gene in elephants, and they are immune to cancer.
Huh. Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, that radioactivity is not the only weird thing about this forest. Let's talk about that giant clearing in the center of it. So, scientists have gone there, they have tried to study this random clearing, and they've proposed several explanations like soil composition or that it may have been an ancient burial ground. But either way, scientists investigated the soil and found no evidence of why no vegetation grew there. So scientists have been there, they tested the soil, and they still have no idea why this forest is the way it is. Which is weird.
I imagine, their tests come back, normal.
Yeah.
But you can't just have a circle in the middle of a forest. That just doesn't make sense. There's a reason why there's no vegetation there.
Nothing grows there.
That's not, yeah, exactly.
Not even a bush. Makes no sense.
Absolutely makes no sense. There's got to be something in the soil, or I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, but either way, what would be in the soil just in that area? This big football field looking area doesn't make any sense. It's like something was there before, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, but I mean, what is that big? What is that big that's that circular?
Well, they also suggested UFO landings. That's also a theory of that big, large...
Which makes sense, which could also explain why the trees are, looking like a backwards S, because of the thrust from the UFO could be shot into the woods and literally bend the trees.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll talk about that theory in like 2 seconds. But
Sorry, I jumped a little bit.
We're going all over the place. There's a few theories about this open clearing because it's just so odd. Another one is a psychic medium. I guess a few of them went out there, and they claim it's a portal to the paranormal since shadow figures are seen. People see a thick black fog and orbs of light that hold no heat signature are in this area. And others claim to have passed through these portals, experiencing brief moments in which they experience alternate realities.
Isn't that wild? That's wild.
It's weird that psychic mediums are like, no, this is a gateway. Honestly, I believe them more than anyone. If they can talk to the dead,
oh, jeez,
I believe them.
Now, others believe that it's a bare spot due to UFOs landing there. Now, a popular story regards Emil, a military technician who was out with his friends, and his girlfriend stated that she saw something weird. He walked over to her and saw a shining silver disc in the sky. Luckily, he had his camera with him and captured a photo of the object. They saw the UFO for about 2 minutes, and then once Emil published the photos into the local newspapers, but many didn't believe him and thought it was a weather balloon. However, investigators couldn't find anything to explain the photos. This barren patch of land in the center of the forest is now called the clearing.
And you can also look up pictures of this UFO on Google. And it's basically... I'll look it up. I don't know how to explain it. You can see the UFO. It's very small, and it's an old picture. But, I mean, shoot, if he did something like that, he caught a photo like that, published it, and now everyone's trying to hide that photo from everything, I believe that thing. Or I believe the photo, I really do. I mean, why else would there be a bare spot in the middle of the forest?
I'm not finding this UFO picture.
It's... that one.
This
the
one?
third
right
one. The third... Or no, yeah, that one. Yeah, it's very weird looking.
To me, I can understand why that looks like a
Weather balloon.
weather balloon.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, so I'm going to describe the picture to you. So this UFO is probably maybe 100, 200 feet above the trees, pretty close to where the trees are.
Mm-hmm.
And on the bottom, I don't know if it's the reflection of the light or what, or the reflection of UFO itself. By the way, it's definitely weird looking. It's circular, but I would say it's more UFO than a weather balloon. It's hard to explain a photo like this.
Yeah, I don't even know what a weather balloon looks like. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think a weather balloon looks like this. I really don't.
I don't think it'd be that circular.
It's not. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you look up the Hoia Baciu Forest UFO picture, it comes up in black and white, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And
Yep.
you can determine for yourself what you think of it.
And that's really the only UFO photo they have from that forest. I'm sure there's some more out there, but either way, I mean, due to that photo, everyone just freaked out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, aliens are landing here. They live here." That photo really
I don't know about living here, but they probably do visit. I'm sure they do.
Really do.
Anyways, in the 1970s, a Dr. Adrian Trut, a Romanian physicist, began conducting research in the forest. He focused on the area's magnetic anomalies and their potential connection to the paranormal phenomena reported by the locals. The Dr. Trut's studies, through inconclusive, generated considerable interest in the scientific community and helped to establish that the forest as a site of ongoing research and investigation.
And researchers have also speculated that due to the forest's high electromagnetic energy, it has influenced the vegetation and wildlife there, such as twisted and contorted tree trunks. That's why they are the way they are.
I don't think that doesn't make any sense. Electromagnetic energy would
How would that even...
twist and contort tree trunks.
How would there be high electromagnetic energy there?
Well, wood is not a good conductor of electricity,
No,
so
it's not.
I don't know how that makes sense.
It doesn't. I think they're just trying to come up with things or ways to determine why this forest is the way it is.
Destination Truth and Ghost Adventures have visited the forest, and in an episode of Destination Truth, a cameraman was doing a EVP isolation session in the abandoned circle and captured a disembodied voice. A few minutes later, Jesus, he was shoved to the ground with 3 scratches appearing in his forearm.
So
imagine being shoved to the ground by something that you can't see.
absolutely not.
Oh no!
I would run straight out of that forest. I said, "Okay, there's spirits here. Let's get out of here now. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done. I don't care how much you're paying me."
You couldn't catch me doing that.
So, besides all these scientific investigations and whatnot, there are legends and theories and conspiracies. So, we will talk about one of the more... This story happened decades ago, but it is... A lot of the locals tell the story. So previously, a 5-year-old girl got lost in this forest. A search was organized. No one ever found her. It took 5 years until she showed up, unharmed, unaged. She was still wearing the same clothes the day of her disappearance. And the people asked her, like, what happened? Where were you? And she could not remember a single thing that has happened in the past 5 years to her. And believers think that this little girl entered a time slip or a portal within the forest to time travel, which I think she did not time travel.
No, well, here's the thing. This is a legend, right?
Yes.
This is what the locals tell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every legend, every story is based off truth, right? Now, maybe shifted into something that's not true, but every story is based off some sort of truth in reason, right? But how do you create a story like this and not have any truth to it?
Well, I mean, it's weird how this little girl disappears for 5 years and then she comes back and it's like nothing has changed about her. That's so odd.
Yeah, that's very odd. Imagine coming home to your parents being 5 years older.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't even remember what's happened the past 5 years.
I mean, that happens all the
crazy.
time, though. I mean, obviously not
Oh my
5 years,
gosh.
but it
Like that,
happens all the time.
like that one kid that got kidnapped, and he was a really little boy. He got kidnapped for a few days, and he came back. He was wearing different clothes,
Oh,
and he had
yeah.
no idea what happened to
Yeah.
him. Like, he was
I think
scarred.
he either got lost in a cave or like a forest. I know what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
a famous picture. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was like a red-haired kid
Yep.
or something
In
like
the
that.
hospital bed.
Yeah, and he had clothes on, and he looked normal. He didn't have any bags under his eyes. His eyes were normal. He looked like a normal kid, correct? So after his time either spent in the forest or caves, I can't remember which one, and I don't know this kid's name. I'll have to rain check on that.
I think he walked into the woods and he got lost. That's what it was.
That's what I'm telling.
Yeah.
What I'm telling right
Yeah.
now. Once he got lost in either the caves or the woods, he came back with different clothes on that weren't even his or that he's ever worn.
Yeah.
And then his eyes were giant. His hair was all
were.
messed up. His hair looked different
He
than what
looked
it was.
old.
He looked
He did not look
3
like
years
yeah.
older than what the photos actually look like.
And I actually read an interview about that, about his sibling or something, and they said that he was just not the same. He would not talk about any of it that happened to him.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
That's creepy.
That is weird. So that is the same thing that happened to this little girl, but in this forest. That's creepy. Ugh.
Yeah,
Makes me goosebumps. But another legend that locals say is about a woman who disappeared with a 15th century coin in her pocket. And when she returned a significant time later she appeared with the same coin, as if no time
Okay,
had
but
passed.
realistically, you could have just kept that coin in the same pocket for that long. Some people have lucky coins. I have a lucky coin. So, let's be honest here.
But either way, it's the whole thing of disappearing and then coming back, not remembering, being the same way.
Right, I get you. I get
Yeah.
you. So, an interview from The Independent about a man who visited the forest. Now, Alex, if I'm not mistaken, is a guide, correct, for this forest?
Yeah, he's done a lot of different guides for tourists, obviously, and people just wanting to hike or camp out there.
So, this is one of his stories that he told in an interview, okay? So, Alex has visited the forest several times and he hates sleeping there overnight. He will not do it. He said he hates doing it and he will try to avoid it at all costs. Now, he told The Independent that the first time he camped there, he and his friends were woken up by a loud hoof noise. He said every time that they would stick their heads out from the tent, the noise would stop. So eventually, Alex slept in a hammock in the woods, but didn't last long since a bat smacked into his face.
Just imagine that.
So Alex told The Independent that on one of his tours, a man went crazy thinking he'd met a demon. Later on, he got a huge tattoo of a demon on his chest to ward off demons, which is kind of doesn't really make sense. Yeah. Alex said the scariest thing that happened to one of his friends was a tour of his friend conducted one night. He said his friend conducted an extended night tour with a man who was obsessed with death, loved watching them die, and liked to be there when a person was dying. Alex's words of advice for the travelers were, the forest is only haunted if you bring your own ghosts.
Ain't that the truth, though?
Oh, that's creepy.
And we do have another story of Alex talking about being a guide there and whatnot. And like we always say, you can look up these stories. I guess Alex is a part of the forest project or something like that. It's a project that he's in. But either way, this is an article. This is him talking. I'm just going to read the story pretty much. So, the morning I was to visit the forest, everything that could go wrong did. I had a dispute with my hotel's receptionist. I discovered that I had misplaced my credit cards. While I was searching for them, I broke into a sweat because my guide was already waiting. I got violently sick. By the time I found my cards and everything, we were 30 minutes behind, and we went to meet our driver, and we headed towards the forest.
Now, the driver's name was Vlad, by the way.
Yeah,
which is
funny.
Which is Fitting enough, Vlad the Impaler, Dracula. I'm sorry, I just want to throw that in there.
And I also messed up. This is from a different point of view, but Alex was his tour guide, so my bad on that part. So Alex, he was a paranormal researcher, and he's a guide. He came to the tour with a small electromagnetic field reader and not much else. And to his surprise, his guide was a skeptic with a rational explanation for almost everything that happens in this forest. Almost everything, because he is in it so much. So after climbing up the hill and everything, this guy notices that the forest is really cold. It's a lot cooler than expected, and the sun's rays just don't seem to penetrate the trees. The second thing he notices were the trees. He said, "I've never seen so many malformed trees and snap photos of them to send to my botanist friend," which I wonder what his botanist friend said.
Yes, I'd probably freak out, I'm not gonna lie.
And to go on, this guy is talking about how he got sick again. The whole time he was in this forest, he felt tightness in his chest, like he couldn't catch his breath. His stomach was not feeling well. He felt stabbing pains in his head, and he'd read that many people feel sick while in this forest. He said he couldn't figure out why he was sick, so he figured he'd just keep walking, thinking it was altitude sickness pretty much.
The thing is, his tour guide, who was Alex, by the way, said it's about 200 feet above sea level. So the guy who's narrating this story, Alex was his guide, and this guy's experienced the forest for the first time. So he said, "I didn't feel like anybody was watching me, and I didn't feel anxious, but I have to say I was never comfortable in the forest. It was beautiful, it was strange, but I tried to think of it, in a good way. I enjoyed seeing all the frogs, the epic snails, the monster mushrooms, but the truth was, I was really happy when the tour was over. So my headache vanished as soon as I left the forest, and by the time I caught my next flight, all the other symptoms were gone too. Although I did take some heavy doses of Pepto-Bismol, so that might explain it. So is the forest haunted? I really couldn't say. I didn't see balls of light or an apparition like many people have. What I do know is that this place isn't good for people. I felt awful there, and I could completely understand people panicking and feeling desperate to leave. Now, in that state, it's easy for the mind to play tricks and make us believe we're seeing things that aren't just there. I did see strange mist hovering over a few trees. I've never seen that before. But Alex thought it might be the humidity in the air. So I thought, sure. All I know was that I was eager to get the hell out of that place.
So, in summary, this is one of the most haunted forests in the world.
We gotta go.
I know. Maybe if we get famous enough, we will go to all these places that we talk about.
Actually do ghost investigations.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be fun.
Especially in the forest.
I'd be terrified though. Not gonna lie to you.
Memories.
You talk about memories until you get scratched and you're like,
start to feel sick. I was say I already have tummy problems, so that would not
you
be
be
good.
throwing up all over the place.
Either way, let us know what you think is wrong with this forest. Is it haunted? Is there UFOs there?
Leave
Something
a comment
else?
explaining why you think the trees are the way they are.
Yeah, and why there's a clearing in the middle of it. It's just, all of it's very odd. I think it's just a lot of death. I think it's really paranormal activity mostly there. That's what I believe.
I don't know what's there. I don't want to know what's there. And if you made it this far into the episode and actually listened to all of us, me and Katie ranting and talking about the story, we really do appreciate your, support. And I don't know, we just, we don't get a lot of views these days, but, it's okay. We're trying to make our way up in the world.
We'll get there.
But if you ended up listening this far, thank you so much for it. We do appreciate it, and hopefully one day someone else will be in the same spot as you are. So.
And next week, we have a great episode in store for you. It might be long.
It's probably going to be like an hour.
Yeah, it's probably
an hour long.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about the Appalachian Mountains and
It's one of my favorite topics to talk about.
Because that kind of ties in what we're dealing with now at our house. So we'll talk about what's going on at our house. Some weird...
In the next episode?
Yeah, like what's going on. Because I feel like that relates to the, the story.
Okay, yeah,
but either way, we are going to be discussing the Appalachian Mountains. There was a shit ton of stories about it, and I've heard stories. I've hiked there before. I spent the night there.
Also, if you guys are interested in us telling creepypasta stories,
I love creepypasta.
Please let us know in the comments. We might actually do one here soon just to test it out and see if you guys really enjoy the story, or we might write our own little short stories. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. But please put in the comments if you want us to, tell these creepypasta stories, because I can make a totally different podcast about it, or I could just do it a separate episode. I can put in new, music, all that stuff, and editing. It might sound cool. You might like it, or you may not. Just let us know in the comments. Thank you for listening, and sleep tight.
We will see you next week.
Don't let the monsters get you. So, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at The Night Crew. That is capital T, and then HE, capital NITE, capital KREW. That is The Night Crew. Thank you guys. We really appreciate all of your help and all of your support, and we will see you next week. Thank you, and have a good day.